Live in high definition from Fox 58 in Bakersfield, this is Breaking News.
And we are following several breaking news stories tonight. Right now, the Gulf Coast is bracing for landfall of Hurricane Laura, which is less than an hour away right now. The outer bands have been hitting the area all night, and flooding is underway in those low-lying areas.
Plus, in Wisconsin, we're learning the name of the officer who shot Jacob Blake, resulting in protests nationwide. Officials there also announcing the arrest of a 17-year-old who's accused of opening fire on protesters. That teen now charged with murder. And professional athletes strike nationwide tonight. Several sport leagues joining what they call the fight for justice in the wake of the Jacob Blake shooting. The NBA postponing its playoff games tonight, and the Los Angeles Dodgers are among many other pro teams postponing games in protest.
And also tonight, the Republican National Convention wrapped up night 3. Vice President Pence briefly addressed the violence in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and other cities, as well as formally accepting his nomination as vice president. But we return right now to that breaking news in the Gulf Coast. Hurricane Laura about to slam that area. The outer bands of the storm already on land, with the impact likely to be felt across several states.
Take a look at these images out of Louisiana. The storm surge and flooding beginning hours before the storm even hits. Water taking over this road for miles. The storm is hitting the area just days before the 15th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, which also, of course, devastated the Gulf Coast.
Chief Meteorologist Miles Muzio is tracking the storm carefully from the Weather Center. Miles?
Well, Rochelle, it is a haunting night in southwest Louisiana as the eye is just now making landfall at Cameron, which is about 25 miles to the south of Lake Charles. Just within a past couple of minutes, we had a wind gust of 101 miles per hour in Cameron. You can see in the radar image here very clearly, very heavy rain moving up into southwestern portions of Louisiana. Right now, we've got winds in Lake Charles out of the northeast at 52, gusting to 71 miles per hour. And so they're beginning to see the brunt of it. Pressure falling rapidly now. You can see the storm just beginning to make a landfall. It'll probably take an hour and a half for the entire Big Eye to make it all the way across, and almost 2 inches of rain now in the Lake Charles area. Currently, we're at 86 degrees in Bakersfield, and we've got calm winds here. We do have unhealthy for sensitive groups air quality. Temperatures in the 80s here in the South Valley, 60s and 70s up in the mountains, 81 in the Lake Isabella area. And we're looking at temperatures to stay in the 80s through about 1 o'clock. We'll get down to around 73 degrees first thing in the morning. In the Kern Mountains, temperatures there will be dropping to about 57 degrees, up to 87 by noon tomorrow. And in the Kern River Valley, temperatures there dropping to about 68, but there will be a problem with bad air quality as well for later on tonight. I'll be back in just a few moments. We'll have more on this situation in Louisiana. It's a big one. Right now, Dave and Rochelle, back to you.
All right, Miles, thank you. Right now, as Miles mentioned, the eye of the storm is just off the coast near the Louisiana-Texas border. This will be a very long night for those people in that area.
Sure will. Jordan Botke from our Sinclair sister station is in Galveston Island, Texas. He continues our coverage tonight, looking ahead to the storm's landfall.
Well, the whitecap waves keep getting closer and closer as Hurricane Laura is expected to make landfall once the sun goes down and into the morning. You know, Galveston is anticipating more high wind damage than they are any sort of storm surge, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to see any standing water on both the east and west end. Those are the low-lying areas for Galveston. Those high winds could mean power outages. CenterPoint Energy recommends customers be prepared to not have power for up to 2 weeks. There is a curfew also in effect for both today and tomorrow that runs from 8 tonight to 6 in the morning. The mayor pro tem says it's to protect residents and their property from looting. If violated, you could face a $1,000 fine. Galveston hopes that this storm gets out of here quickly, that mandatory evacuation order is lifted so that they can come back and assess to see if there's any damage. I'm Jordan Bonnke reporting on Galveston Island.
And in Louisiana, the governor activated the entire National Guard, telling members to be on alert and be ready to respond. Guard members will likely assist with evacuations and search and rescue efforts. This is the first time a move like this has been made since Hurricane Isaac in 2012.
Across the Gulf Coast, evacuees are trying to avoid going to hurricane shelters because of the pandemic. Many in southwest Louisiana and southeastern Texas already filled up hotel rooms in Baton Rouge. But if residents didn't move quickly, they may have missed their chance, since a number of Baton Rouge hotels have already reserved rooms for emergency and essential workers.
And we will have another update coming up in about another 15 minutes from now. But for the latest updates, you can always head to our website. Again, that's bakersfieldnow.com. And there are new developments out of Kenosha, Wisconsin, where police released the name of the officer who shot a black man in the back 7 times. They say Officer Rustin Shesky shot Jacob Blake in front of his children. He is now paralyzed in the hospital. That shooting led to protestings. And in the city, another shooting. Police arrested a teen. He is now charged with shooting and killing 2 protesters. Now the sheriff is saying he refuses to deputize those in the city with guns.
I had a person call me and say, why don't you deputize citizens who have guns to come out and patrol the city of Kenosha? And I'm like, oh, hell no.
Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers announced he's sending an additional 500 National Guard troops to Kenosha tonight.
And tonight, professional athletes led by the NBA and WNBA are refusing to play across 4 major American leagues. This is in response to the shooting in Wisconsin. Started earlier today with the Milwaukee Bucks, who refused to take the court for their playoff game. Soon after, the NBA postponed all 3 games today in the Orlando bubble. The WNBA quickly followed, wiping out their scheduled games. Inside the NBA, host Kenny Smith taking part also by walking off the set during a live show.
And for me, I think the biggest thing now is to kind of, as a black man, as a former player, I think it's best for me to support the players and just not be here tonight.
Major League Baseball postponing some of its games tonight as well. That includes the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the San Francisco Giants.
Now to Campaign 2020, where there's night 3 of the Republican National Convention wrapping up. The theme, Land of Heroes. Vice President Mike Pence headlined the night and formally accepted his nomination for a 2nd term.
So with gratitude for the confidence President Donald Trump has placed in me, the support of our Republican Party, and the grace of God, I humbly accept your nomination to run and serve as Vice President of the United States.
President Trump will formally accept the nomination tomorrow night in a speech at the White House. Speakers will also include Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Ivanka Trump, and Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson.
Now to the latest on those wildfires that are burning in Northern California. Last night, dry lightning strikes started 50 new fires. As of right now, there are more than 700 fires burning across California that crews know of. All these fires have burnt more than 1.5 million acres. Right now, more than 200 members of the National Guard are heading up north to help fight the fires.
And as we mentioned earlier this week, about 100 Kern County firefighters are helping at those massive fires across the state. It's part of the state's Master Mutual Aid program. While there are 100 fewer firefighters here right now, all shifts are covered, and in the long run, the department says it's well worth it.
Eyewitness News reporter Jeff Platt explains what Kern County gets in return for helping the rest of the state.
As devastating wildfires rip through California, many on the front line are far from home, like the 100 Kern County firefighters battling the historic flames.
That are supporting this state mission, that are out there helping to protect these communities throughout the state.
KCFD firefighter Andrew Freeborn says sending our firefighters out of the county is a necessity, one that benefits this community all the time.
We've been able to give what we could give, and in return, we've received what we needed.
Take, for example, the Stagecoach fire that recently destroyed dozens of homes and buildings near Havilah. That firefight took more than 1 million gallons of water and retardant.
It's a treadmill of one air tanker after another, and they're just hammering it.
Now keep in mind, Kern Fire has no air tankers and only 1 helicopter. So without this mutual aid system, that fire could still be burning. Another example is the Erskine fire. Kern firefighters only made up a fraction of that fight.
You can imagine only how much worse Stagecoach fire or Erskine fire would have been. Those resources are necessary.
And to get those resources, Kern needs to help when another department needs it. And the only way we can send that help is if other firefighters step up and fill in, which is why Freeborn not only praises the firefighters on the line, but also the ones who stay here.
They're answering the phone call on their day off, and they're coming back to make sure that those stations are refilled with another fresh group of bodies that are ready to go.
Ensuring that while 100 of Kern's bravest are away, our community doesn't suffer as a result. In Bakersfield, Jeff Platt, Eyewitness News.
And coming up on Eyewitness News here at 10, new developments in the case involving former elementary school principal Leslie Chance. We'll have more on what a judge denied today.
And changes are coming to the way the coronavirus testing is done. Later at 10:30, we break down the new guidelines from the CDC and what it means for Kern County.
We continue to follow the breaking news tonight. Hurricane Laura making land, or close to making landfall, the devastating impacts the storm could have.